What is going on, guys? Today I bring you round 4 of the national tournament of honor, and in this round I got paired up against João Matos, a teammate of mine. He was having a really poor tournament for him. I was having a decent tournament, so I was looking forward to score a win here. It would be important for my tournament status because like right now I think I was around like third place shared or second, so yeah, I wasn't first place and that's the final goal. But let's see how the game went. So I had the black pieces. My opponent started with e4. I went for c5, the Sicilian. We got knight f3, d6, and now bishop e5 check. And yeah, this variation, the Moscow attack, is fine for white. It's not really impressive at all, but yeah, I was expecting this, so I wasn't really surprised by my opponent's decision. Bishop d7 takes. I take with the knight here. I prefer these types of positions instead of taking with the queen. Now my opponent goes for castles. I go knight f6, attacking the pawn on e4. My opponent defends with rook e1, e6, c3, bishop e7, and d4 by my opponent. I'm going through this quickly because this is all very well-known theory. Now you just castle, and my opponent goes for bishop g5, which took me out of preparation. I wasn't expecting this move. But okay, he's developed his bishop to g5. I don't know if that's a really good square for the bishop, but it is better than c1 for sure. So let's see. Here I went rook ac8, just developing another piece, waiting for him to move his knight. This knight, I didn't want to take immediately on d4 because I was waiting for this knight to move and then take on d4. Now my opponent goes e5, which, I mean, also doesn't do much. I go knight e8 here, we trade bishops, and yeah, my opponent goes knight d2. I take on d4, he takes back, and yeah, now the rook is very well placed here already, controlling the c file. I take on e5, he takes back, and now I play knight c7. And honestly, I think we both had quite a lot of time here still. I think I had a bit more time than my opponent, but yeah, this position is already very dry, and it's equal with chances for both sides. I have this very nice d5 square, and my opponent has this very nice d6 square, and he has this very annoying pawn on e5, which gives him a lot of space and allows him to try to create some attacks around my king. But considering the fact that we traded most of our minor pieces already, we traded both bishops, it's gonna be way harder for my opponent to create some checkmating attack with only the knights and eventually the queen. So yeah, you just have to keep improving your position and start creating threats as black here to get your chances. So after knight c7, my opponent goes queen a4, which during the game I didn't really understand. I played a6, and my opponent, okay, transferred his queen. It was actually a very creative way for him to transfer the queen for the attack, you know. So yeah, props to him for actually finding this nice creative way of transferring the queen here. I went knight d5, occupying this important square. My opponent also goes knight e4, trying to, maybe play knight f6 check at some point, maybe play knight d6. So interesting here. I go rook c7 here, which I want to double on the c file, but rook c7 is not the most accurate move. I should have just played rook c2 here, immediately creating a threat of taking this pawn, and my opponent would have to play something like b3, and now if I want, I can play rook fc8. But yeah, it's scary to have already all these pieces around my king, although it's gonna be hard for him to mate him with only the two knights and the queen. But yeah, I played rook c7, which is not bad, it's just not as good. my opponent goes rook ad1, and yeah, the computer screams for me to play rook c2 again, and now b3 doesn't work because this pawn is hanging. But yeah, I didn't play rook c2. I played king h8, which is a waste of move. It's a big mistake here. Yeah, I don't know why. I just decided to dodge any knight f6 checks, but I still have like the knight on d5 covering this square, this knight covering this square. Maybe I was afraid of some rook sacrifices, like rook takes on d5, pawn takes knight f6, but that doesn't work still, because I have two knights protecting this square, um, plus the queen as well. So yeah, I was seeing some ghosts. I played king h8. Once someone told me, I don't know if someone told me or if I just heard that when you don't know what to do and you can't find a good move, just move your king. I heard that advice somewhere. I don't remember where, but someone told me, or I saw in a video or in a book, that when you don't know what to do, just move your king. So that's what I did. I just moved my king. My opponent goes knight g5, and I was calculating a lot, and he was also calculating a lot, and yeah, I just couldn't figure out what was the problem with h6. I mean, what is this knight really doing here? Like, it can't stay here forever. And after h6, actually, my opponent played rook d4, which is a very aggressive move, saying that, okay, if you take here, you're gonna get mated after knight takes on g5, and I mean, all sorts of stuff are coming here that I'm gonna lose. But you know, I wasn't born yesterday, or at least I don't think so. So of course I calculated I can take the knight. Let's see if I have a better move. And you know, I was looking for something, and all of a sudden, like, I was thinking for like 3-4 minutes, and then boom, oh my god, I just saw it, a crazy tactic. And I calculated, I saw that it worked, I saw it again, I saw it a third time, a fourth time, and then I was like, okay, just take a deep breath and just play the move. And if you want, you can pause the video and try to find a very, very strong move for black in this position. Write down in the comment section down below if you want to take up the challenge. And for you guys that just want to enjoy the show, I played the brilliant knight takes on e5, sacrificing a full knight. And yeah, I was so proud of me finding this move and calculating everything properly. And let's see what's going on. So I just took a very important pawn on e5, but my knight is hanging. Like, he has two pieces just looking at the knight. So let's say my opponent takes the knight here, on e5. Now I can just take on g5, you know? So now he doesn't have a knight protecting the other knight. So if we traded queens here, I would be fine. I would just be a pawn up. So, okay, he can't really take with the knight. Let's say he takes with a rook, which is what happened in the game. Now I play rook c1 check, and my opponent is forced to either play like knight e1 here or rook e1. If my opponent plays knight e1, I can actually just take on g5 again, which is super important because, like, what do you mean? The queen is hanging. You can just take it with the rook. No, you actually get mated because the knight is hanging and there's no luft for the king. So amazing. And if he takes with the queen, it's the same story. My opponent doesn't have time to recapture the pawn here because the knight would be hanging and he would get checkmated. So actually, very beautiful tactic that I found here. You know, I was very proud and very happy because now I'm clearly better. Like, my opponent went for this line with the rook coming back. I took the rook, knight takes, and then I take the knight. And yeah, I mean, we had like both around, I think, like 30 minutes or a bit less than that. But yeah, I was just very happy that I turned the game around. Although I was never in big trouble, but it wasn't looking that pleasant. But yeah, upon up, I was, you know, very happy. So okay, my opponent traded queens and played knight f3. I played rook c8, which is another trick. My opponent can't take the pawn on g5 because he would be checkmated. So my opponent finally creates some shelter for his king with g3. I go rook c1 check, king g2, and now f6, protecting this pawn here on g5. I have doubled pawns, but it's still a pawn up, so I should still be better, although I might not be winning, but I'm clearly the one playing for a win here. So my opponent goes a3, I go king g8, bringing the king into the game, rook d2, king f7, h3, king e7, knight d4 here by my opponent. I go g6, not allowing him to put the knight on f5 in the future, and also planning to expand here. My opponent goes rook e2. I kick the knight with e5, knight b3, and here I think my opponent actually offered me a draw after knight b3, and I was like, I mean, I was kind of stressed out because the game was stressful and it wasn't easy for me to calculate that other move. But I was like, no, I mean, I shouldn't take the draw. Like, I'm up a pawn. So I just go back to rook c7. My opponent goes uh, rook d2. I play king e6. And my opponent plays rook e2. And I just sit here. And I didn't know how to continue. And like, all of a sudden, I'm scared of knight d4 check. With a check on the king, I can't take the knight because the rook is pinning me. And this knight doesn't really have a good square. It can't go to c3, it can't go to b4, it can't go to f4. And it's hard for this rook to infiltrate. The squares are all taken here. Yeah, I was starting to feel not so good about this position, and all of a sudden, I play king d6 and I offer a draw, bro. And my opponent, of course, takes it, and I was relieved, but like 5 minutes after we just signed the score sheets, it all came down and crashing down, and like I just hit rock bottom mentally. I was like, I can't believe that I asked or agreed for the draw in this position right here, where I'm up a pawn. Okay, it's not gonna be easy to convert, but like I'm never losing this anytime soon with like still 18 minutes on the clock versus 15. Like there's no threat. Like as long as I am like focused and I don't get forked like my king and my rook, like nothing can really go wrong except like I try and I don't convert. Like just play f5. And if my opponent plays knight d4 check, I can just sidestep like king f6 and there's nothing. Like I'm gonna push at some point e4 or g4 or something like that, and my opponent is passive and I'm active. So yeah, I mean, I was so pissed. Like honestly, I never like probably this was one of the worst feelings I've ever had after a game. Like because it's all on me. It's all my fault for accepting the draw, or even asking for a draw in that position against a lower rated opponent in a tournament that like I just want to win at all costs the tournament, and I like accept a draw with black when I'm completely winning in an endgame with no risk. Like it's just like I hit rock bottom, man. I was so angry for myself, and I was just like, I have to actually take a break from chess. Like I can't take it anymore. Like I need to, take a break from competition and stuff like that because I just can't take it. And actually, yeah, after this tournament, I actually ended up taking 4 months off competitive chess. So yeah, this was rock bottom for me mentally. Like this was one of the toughest games to actually recover from, especially like mid tournament. Like damn, I just wanted to like not play the tournament anymore. I was so embarrassed for this decision. It's really bad, really bad. There's no yeah, there's nothing I can say more. I just like man, uh it's embarrassing still. Like it's embarrassing to show this game because of just this draw off. For even after like I find like a brilliant tactic, I just what like yeah. I mean, no words to explain this. But yeah, I just I knew I had to finish the tournament, and yeah, it's not looking good for the first place, but the hopes are still there because there's still three more games, and I haven't lost yet. But the draw here was very 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 hard to to process. But yeah, guys, I'll catch you on the next game, next episode, and let's see if I can bounce back from this last couple of games. Bye bye, guys. Take care.